Scarlett Johansson has been labeled one of the most problematic actresses of all time because she is constantly facing backlash for her casting choices and for sharing her opinions on other celebrities. And let's get into the celebrities that have tried to warn us about Scarlett. First up, Ming-Na Wen. Scarlett has had a ton of controversial moments in her career, but I think this one easily got the most media coverage and pushback. When Steven Spielberg got the rights to remake a Japanese movie called Ghost in the Shell, he cast Johansson in the lead role. The role was called Major, a cyborg soldier with a human brain and a cybernetic body, who is the main character. Although the project was a huge hit in Asia and was expected to do similar numbers in North America, this casting decision led the movie to be a flop, because fans accused the movie of whitewashing. The public called on the studio to cast an Asian woman in the role instead of a white woman, since it was based on a Japanese character. Months later, Stephen Paul, a producer on the film, defended the decision to cast Johansson as Major, explaining to BuzzFeed News that Sanders' Ghost in the Shell adaptation takes place in an international world, adding that it isn't just a Japanese story and it does not just focus on Japan, rather the whole world. Johansson also did not back down when asked about the casting and stood by the decision. When talking about it with Mary Claire, she said, quote, "I never presumed to play another race. Diversity is important in Hollywood, and I would never want to feel like I was playing a character that was offensive." She then pivoted to talk about how amazing it is to have a woman heading a huge franchise like this. Johansson also defended the choice by stating that the character is a human brain inside of a machine body, making it identity-less. But Asian actors did not agree with Johansson's take and shared how disappointed they were in the casting choice. When the photo of Johansson in the film came out, Ming-Na Wen, who stars on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., tweeted, quote, "Nothing against Scarlett Johansson, in fact I'm a big fan, but everything against this whitewashing of Asian role." Many other actors shared similar sentiments about whitewashing the franchise. Harvey Weinstein. In 2017, the terrible actions of movie producer Harvey Weinstein were exposed to the public, and plenty of actresses came forward sharing their experiences working with him. Many shared that they had to perform sexual favors in exchange for roles. In light of all the terrible press surrounding Weinstein, many actresses boycotted Weinstein and his family, including his wife at the time, Georgina Chapman, who founded the clothing brand Marchesa. However, Scarlett did not boycott Marchesa, and instead she decided to show off the designer by wearing them at the Met Gala that year. Multiple actresses also came forward to share that Weinstein previously pressured and even threatened them to wear Marchesa to events, so many felt his wife was in cahoots with him. Many people questioned why Johansson, a supporter of both Me Too and Time's Up, decided to publicly support Chapman's designs. She explained herself in an interview with Entertainment Tonight, saying, quote, "I wore Marchesa because their clothes make women feel confident and beautiful. It's my pleasure to support a brand created by two incredibly talented and important female designers." Jamie Clayton. In 2018, Johansson had another casting blunder when she signed up to play the role of Dante Tex Gill, a trans man that operated a massage parlor business in the 70s, in the film Rub and Tug. The LGBTQ+ community and its allies argued that the role should have gone to a trans actor, not a cisgender woman, and said it contributed to trans erasure. Even with all the criticism, Johansson once again stood her ground and defended the casting. Mainly, she tried to take the blame off herself and put it onto other cis actors who had played trans characters in the past. Johansson told Bustle at the time, quote, "Tell them they can be directed to Jeffrey Tambor, Jared Leto, and Felicity Huffman's refs for comment. This is because Jeffrey Tambor played a trans woman on Transparent, Jared Leto was cast as a trans woman in Dallas Buyers Club, and Felicity Huffman took on a role as a trans woman in Trans America." However, since the backlash with the project did not stop, Johansson later decided to leave the project. Johansson went on to say she understood why people felt that Dante should be played by a trans actor, adding that she's grateful to participate in a controversial debate that sparked a larger conversation about diversity and representation in film. She said later that she mishandled the backlash. Trans actor Jamie Clayton shared their thoughts in a tweet, writing, quote, "Actors who are trans never even get to audition for anything other than trans characters. That's the real issue. We can't even get in the room. Cast actors who are trans as non-trans characters, I dare you." However, the drama with this casting did not end there, and Johansson said more controversial statements surrounding this topic a year later, saying that she should be able to play any character that she wants. Quote, "You know, as an actor I should be allowed to play any person, or any tree, or any animal, because that is my job and the requirements of my job." Adding, quote, "Today there's a lot of emphasis and conversation about what acting is and who we want to see represent ourselves on screen. The question now is, what is acting anyway?" However, she later said that her controversial comments were taken out of context and it was edited for clickbait. She later clarified, saying, quote, "I personally feel that in an ideal world, any actor should be able to play anybody in art, and all forms should be immune to political correctness. That is the point I was making, albeit it didn't come across that way." Woody Allen. Another controversial take from Scarlett was her support of Woody Allen during his scandal, where he's accused of sexual misconduct by several women, including Dylan Farrow, who is the child of Mia Farrow, whom Allen married. After this, many women took Dylan Farrow's side and boycotted Allen. However, Scarlett was not one of them and actually defended Woody Allen. Johansson had worked with Allen on films like Match Point, Scoop, and Vicky Cristina Barcelona, and she said in 2019 that she would still work with him if the opportunity came up. After the allegations surfaced, Johansson said in an interview, quote, "I love Woody. I believe him and I would work with him anytime." Apparently she speaks with him often, and the pair have had many conversations about these allegations. She added, quote, "I've been very direct with him and he's very direct with me. He maintains his innocence and I believe him." This is not only very problematic but also hypocritical, because Scarlett publicly called out James Franco for supporting Time's Up before 5 women accused him of misconduct. Dylan Farrow also called out Scarlett on Twitter, quote, "If we've learned anything from the past 2 years is that you definitely should believe men who maintain their innocence without question. Scarlett has a long way to go in understanding the issues she claims to champion," referring to the actor's public support of Me Too and Time's Up. Months later, in her 2019 Vanity cover story, Johansson doubled down on her previous comments about Allen. Quote, "It's my experience, I don't know any more than any other person knows. I only have a close proximity with Woody. He's a friend of mine. I have no other insight other than my relationship with him," continuing that she doesn't want to lie or edit herself, and she wants to openly share her opinions on the matter. Benedict Cumberbatch. Recently, Scarlett Johansson got tons of press after she decided to sue Disney over their Black Widow premiere. It's common for actors to get a portion of the box office numbers, but Scarlett felt she was not given a fair amount by Disney because they decided to premiere the movie at home on Disney Plus as well as in theaters, which made the theater sum significantly smaller than usual. Fellow Disney star Benedict Cumberbatch reacted to the news, calling the ordeal, quote, "a bit of a mess." During a wide-ranging profile with The Hollywood Reporter, Benedict Cumberbatch said he thought it was sad how the whole thing was unfolding. The lawsuit claims that Johansson lost untold potential revenue while Disney execs profited by growing the Disney Plus streaming services base at the same time. Disney fired back, calling the lawsuit sad and distressing in its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of the new state of the world due to lockdown measures. When asked about the legal turmoil with his co-star, Cumberbatch said, quote, "It's sad what's going on between the lawyers, but he said we need to put it in context of what's happening in the world right now," adding, quote, "The whole thing's just a bit of a mess. We're trying to understand what the revenue stream should be for artists to contribute to the billion-dollar business that is Disney, and it has to be contractualized." Many were surprised that he didn't all-out support Johansson like other stars had at the time. WandaVision star Emily Olsen called the move brave, and she fiercely defended Johansson's decision. Jennifer Lawrence. This is one we're not sure is a real feud or not, but sources claim that since Lauren and Johansson are both engaged and plan to wed in New York City, they're trying to upstage each other with their weddings. According to the outlet, Johansson and Lawrence have never liked each other, and the situation is getting worse now that they're both planning weddings in the New York area. The source said they definitely want to outshine each other on their big days, and it's assumed their weddings will take place shortly after one another's. Apparently, Johansson has always been a little envious of the roles that Jen's got over her because Scarlett believes she's more talented than Jen. Apparently, Scarlett also doesn't like Jen's quirky personality and finds it annoying, adding, quote, "She feels Jennifer is a bit of a phony." The feud was taken up a notch when both women looked at the same venue for their wedding in the Hamptons, but they don't want to get married at the same place, so they are keeping serious tabs on one another. So that's all for the list. Let me know your thoughts below, but before I go, I'm gonna shout out some comments from celebrities who tried to warn us about Zooey Deschanel. Emily QS said, "I hope she doesn't cause the downfall of the Property Brothers. I love them." Me either, I love them too. Sada M said, "Wow, I was not expecting Jake Johnson to be on this list." Yeah, I never watched the show too much, but I always got a vibe that they didn't like each other for some reason. Labiba said, "She just sounds like she doesn't let people push her around." I mean, that could definitely be one way of looking at it. Alright guys, I've been your host, Mackenzie Smith, and I'll catch you on the next one.